Welcome back to the channel. I am the stepson of Krypton,
And I'm Mantis.
and today we are discussing the announcement that was made about who is going to be the new Supergirl. Mantis, care to do the honors?
So this came out, I think, a couple days ago, or maybe three days ago. That news came out that Millie Alcock from the oh god, what's it called?
House of
The
the
House
Dragon.
of the Dragon. Yeah, the House of the Dragon show. She played Rhaenyra Targaryen. I think is how you pronounce it. I could be wrong on the first name there, but um, yeah, I think she did. I don't know if you've seen that show.
I have.
Yeah. I actually we haven't really talked about that show at all, even off the channel, about it to each other. So I actually think she did a really good job as the character. She kind of she didn't play it the same as Amelia Clark did in the main show, not the spinoff, but I think she's a pretty good actress for her age. But the thing about that show, and you know this too, is because the kind of time jumped, they kind of now they don't really have a use for her in the show unless they do flashbacks or something, right? So this kind of, I guess, opened up the window for her to do some screen testing with James Gunn, and just a couple of things that James had said about it was she did. James, in particular, had been gushing about how well she did in the screen test for the role. Again, he said he became aware of her too from House of the Dragon, blown away by her varied auditions and screen tests for Supergirl. And then I guess Jim Lee, who's part of DC, said, they're going to have to show you the test footage because it just was that good. So, I mean, I don't know. They always say that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, she was just so great. Well, of course she was. That's why you picked her. Like, I mean,
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously, well, we weren't so sure, but we went ahead and pulled the trigger,
Right.
because maybe
Right.
it'll all work out. You got to figure, okay, it's HBO Max, Game of Thrones, it's doing the prequel. They're gonna get, and they, even though say what you want to, because I didn't want to watch House of the Dragon after what happened in season 8, but I was like, give it a shot.
Yeah.
They're gonna do well on their casting, and I think for her age, she definitely did a great job in there. She won, or she got nominated for a lot of awards. The show did in itself, but she personally did as well. So I was my only kind of concern at first when I see her is just she looks so young in all the pictures you see of her. Right? She'll be 24 in April. Right? But I started looking. I was like, man, that's kind of young for a Supergirl. But Lois Lane, Kate Bosworth, who played her in Superman Returns, she was 23 in that movie as Lois Lane.
True.
Right? So
True.
I'm like,
yeah.
They're supposed to be older, already, went through college, working at the Planet, been as well-established reporter. So I'm like, if she can pull it off looking as young as she did pull it off Lois Lane, Kara is supposed to be younger than Superman anyways.
Right.
So I'm like, it'll work, right? I'm excited to see.
It's Supergirl, right?
Yeah.
Right? The title is Supergirl. It's not Superwoman.
Well, even her movie is going to be Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, saying, obviously there is, there's some growth there, right? And, she's young enough that, she will look like she's just becoming of age in these movies.
Yeah. So I know. And I agree. And you bring that up, the movie that she's her own movie, I guess, is because if they cast her in that, she's going to be cast or as well as in the Superman Legacy. Apparently they confirmed, at least in this article from Forbes, that Woman of Tomorrow, but it doesn't have a release date yet for her movie. However, you will see her alongside David Cornsweet as Superman in the Superman Legacy movie. So you will get to see her again. We kind of, you'll see it after this video. There'll be another video after this discussing the Supergirl movie itself and kind of what's going to happen there. But we kind of discussed a little bit on, we didn't know, well, are they going to show her in Superman Legacy or not? And I guess at this point, it seems like she may have a bigger role than we had initially thought.
Well, first off, I suggested something where she had a much bigger role. You said, "Oh, she'll be a cameo at the end." So let's
yeah.
Now, guys, Mantis and I, obviously, we have full-time jobs, so we do this show as just kind of a hobby, and we edit, we do, and we get these out as quick as we can. But we just recorded the video where we were discussing this about Supergirl, thinking, oh, it'll probably be a little bit before they cast her. Next week they cast her, so now we're doing a video on this. So that one will release, even though it's already recorded. We'll release really close after this one here. Where we kind of discuss what we think they should do with Supergirl, whether it should be like Mantis had said, a quick cameo maybe at the end, or where I said maybe have her, split paths with Superman to kind of explain why she's not going to be real heavy into his movie, and then you can kind of do an origin story with her and her movie, kind of flashback that way, because I know James Gunn had already said he's not really planning to have much flashback and much origin story in Superman Legacy. It's going to be very, very minimal because, as we said in that video, if you're watching this channel, you should already know Superman's backstory.
You definitely should. It turns out you're probably right. At least according to this, they're going to kind of go with what you mentioned, where play a bigger role in it, not just a cameo thing at the end of it. So yeah, that'll be cool. And again, it's so weird. I guess also, since they haven't even started filming of this, obviously House of the Dragon came out 2 years ago or something, 3 years ago. I don't know when.
2, I think 2 and change, something like that.
So they probably started filming on that like, I don't know, a year prior. So she looks young, but that's, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, right? So
I haven't seen her. She still looks young.
Gotcha. I haven't seen any current pictures. I've just been, the one I just remember from the show. And she looks like a dang kid. Then again, I don't know. I'm getting old now. Everyone looks like a damn kid. So
I was about to say the same thing. I'm like, you know what? Like, she probably looks more adult than I remember, but for some reason, like, people in their late teens, 20s are looking really young nowadays compared to what I remember. But that's probably I'm looking at her like she's almost a daughter because of her age. She could be. So I'm excited. She seems very well accomplished for her young age. Again, handling the pressure of doing something like a Game of Thrones prequel says a lot, I think, about a person that's young, kind of like Macy Williams and I can't remember her name. Plays Sansa. Sophie Turner. Turner, or whatever her name is now, after Marison Jonah's brother, or whatever that was.
Sure, that'll end well.
Yeah, but very takes an accomplished actress or actor to be that young and handle that kind of pressure and not kind of go crazy. So I'm excited to see what she can bring. Right. And when we talk about Woman of Tomorrow, I think that's a great, again, she can be a very strong female lead and not have to call it out every 2 minutes.
So here's another thing that was brought up in that article. One of the things was, they said she did well channeling that quiet rage as a Targaryen in House of the Dragon, right? There was this, I don't say stoic, but she almost looked pissed off the whole movie, right? Or show. And it's like, it kind of lines up, I guess. And I don't know if this is true, but and you would know this more than me, but the Tom King version of Supergirl is it's not the same Supergirl that you see in the CW. Like, it's like, and she's all like bubbly and happy and whatnot. Like, I can see if they go with that take with Supergirl being more serious and stoic, she can do that well, as we've seen.
Well, so there's several different storylines for Supergirl. One of the main ones is where, Krypton being war ravaged as the planet's basically getting ready to explode. She remembers that, right? So in the comics, and there's an animated series with her where she's having these flashbacks. And you saw it a little bit in Smallville where things were kind of going. And
well, I'm guessing you're not here to cheer on the troops.
Call it a mission of redemption. I'll need all those blood samples. I can't let this project go on.
She had a couple of flashbacks and she's remembering Krypton. So it definitely puts her in a more of a sadder, kind of a darker light than Superman, who doesn't remember anything from Krypton. He was a baby.
Right.
So yeah, she has that where you could see them saying, "Hey, okay, yeah, you're channeling that kind of inner rage, and now she's on this planet. She's been trapped for years in stasis, and now so she's really, she's got a lot to be upset about." And then it's like maybe her overcoming that rage to be a better person, right? So it gives you that good story again, which is a great story to show a strong female lead without saying, "I'm a strong, independent woman. I don't need a man." Say that kind of bullshit.
Right.
No, let her show it through her character growth and development, right?
It's an interesting take. Yeah, because like you're right. If Clark has no idea what actually happened aside from what his space dad told him, right? But it's like, okay, she lived it. She saw it. She saw it happen.
It has happened. I watched it happen. I saw it happen. Don't tell me it didn't happen.
That's a completely different experience of, I could just see that the scene, she's just going off on Kal-El about, you have no idea what happened, what they did, and blah, blah, it's like, I can see where they would make her more serious, and I don't say resentful, but just pissed off and upset,
pessimistic. She doesn't have like where Superman's the beacon of light and hope. She's kind of the grounded side of that.
Doesn't start out that way. Yeah, she doesn't start out that way. Yeah. That's cool.
Splitting off where she's got to come into her own, right? And that's where I think in Superman Legacy they might start off, but she's going to split off to go find herself, and then that's going to be where it leads into her movie.
Well, that's the best part about like these stories, right? And what makes a good story is character growth. When you have characters that don't have character growth, like I don't know, Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel.
I say Miss Marvel. She actually did pretty well. Like,
not Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel. Like, zero character growth. Like, just none at all. Like, like having her start out a little bit that way, and then you're right, like having her own movie to kind of grow into what Supergirl or who Supergirl is. I like that idea. Yeah.
Well, I think it's great to, again, if you're not going to do a Superman origin, is now we get to see some of the backstory, because it doesn't make sense to show Krypton before Kal-El's born, right? For a long period of time, right? Maybe a quick glimpse or two of them will talk about wanting to have a kid, but showing her where you can see all of the stuff, all the war and everything going on Krypton as her backstory, right? And again, what she went through is a great way to not only give her backstory and kind of why she is the way she is, but then also like what actually happened on Krypton that we never normally get to see too much of, right? Man of Steel, you just see the planet get ready to explode, and then they're fighting for a few minutes before everything goes up in flame. Like, getting a little more of that backstory, I think gives you some more depth to Krypton itself as well as her as a character. I think would be great, and you're not just doing the same old, this is what happened to Kal-El. He got put in a ship and he got sent up to, and then he's founded Smallville,
Right.
So,
yeah, I agree. I think it's a pretty good cast. Again, I've not seen her in anything else, and maybe she hasn't been. Maybe, the House of Dragons.
She's been in a couple of things. She's been in a couple series now. Most of them she's like, now granted, House of the Dragons, she was only in 5 episodes, right? She's had a couple other 6, 7. I think she's been in one other like small like TV movie. So she's not had a lot. This is definitely going to be her first major movie, because we're not counting House of Dragons as a movie, obviously. So, and I kind of love that too, right? Is that her breakout role has the potential to be Supergirl. And
right.
Again, she's 23, getting ready to turn 24. Sign her up for 10 years, give her 4 movies.
Yeah.
It'd be great.
You could. And you can get a good price.
Yeah, right. Well, so I'll come back to that real quick, but we have a very, very young Superman cast. If you look at everybody thus far cast for it, all of them are very, very young. It worries me a little bit, but I'm really more excited because then if we do it right, we could get a good 10 years of these characters playing them.
Consistent. Yeah.
Now, talk about that. You said, so Chris Evans, we talked about kind of, he was, starting to he was crossing into his 30s when he started playing Captain America. He only made $300,000 for the first Captain America, right?
That's
by hilarious. The last movie he's in, by Avengers Endgame, he's making like 15-20 million. Okay, so you talked about that in one of the last videos we did where, it's cheaper to go with these new actors, right? They're probably going to get her now, maybe a little more because she did House of the Dragon.
Probably a little more.
In at a little more. but they're going to probably get a lot of these guys dirt cheap and make a shit ton of money off them before they have to re-up their contracts.
Yeah, I mean, it's good business sense. I mean, it makes sense. It's like you said, it's exactly what Marvel did. You started with some actors that were trying to make a comeback, some that never, that was their starting point. So you could sign them for cheap and sign them to long contracts for multiple movies, even if they don't get made, right? Like it could be, I don't know how they structure the contracts, but it could be like, well, we're going to sign you for this many movies and you'll get this much of the TV rights, this much of the money from action figures. Well, all that stuff is, I'm sure, factored in. But, then I would assume that they do it by movie too. Like the first movie, you'll get this percentage. The next movie, you'll get this percentage. So, if it flops and they don't make, she doesn't get in all 6 movies, well, then it doesn't matter because you're not getting paid because there is no movie,
Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not acting like I'm an expert on this, but I watched a video on them talking about the Marvel contracts and what they looked like, right? Obviously, RDJ had a different contract than most of them.
Sure.
As far as him, Tom Cruise does a lot because he produces a lot. They do a lot of on the back end. Like they, if it's this successful, they get more money off the back end. They don't take as much up front. Now he did get $50 million for like in-game Infinity War each and stuff like that. But a lot of them, they'll get a set price with, if it does so well, they will get X amount on the next one. But after like the first movie, they can re-up the contract, right? They can renegotiate the contract and say, hey, the movie was this successful. We want to renegotiate. And, they can kind of continue to renegotiate these. That was the thing with Amber Heard. Not to delve into the nightmare that is Amber Heard, but with Aquaman,
bed shitter
And Amber Heard first appeared in 2016, correct?
I don't recall.
Yeah, they said that her and Jason Momoa didn't have a lot of on-screen chemistry, right? So she thought she was going to make more money for Aquaman 2, and they're like, actually, we're going to reduce your screen time because the chemistry is just not there. So we're not going to lean into your love story. We're going to do the brother thing. Actually, so the contract was renegotiated down where she actually made less money, and she tries to blame it on Johnny Depp. We're not going to get into it. It wasn't.
Yeah.
But it, so they can kind of renegotiate as they go because in there, they put certain benchmarks, right? And part of it is, hey, do you have chemistry with the other talent? Because Jason Momoa is the star, right?
I could see that. I mean, only contracts I'm very familiar with are like sports contracts where, coaches and specifically I just am more familiar with like college football, like coaching contracts where, well, you get this amount of money over this many years, but also if you make a bowl game, you get the bonus. Or if you make the championship game, you get a bonus. If you hit 7 or 8 wins, you get this much more money, right? I'd assume it's something similar with as opposed to hitting certain making so much money in the box office, right? Like if the movie hits this much, you get a bonus, right?
Well, so it was like what it was for a lot of the Marvel actors, the normal actors, and I say like Chris Evans, Mark Ruffalo, all of them, not RDJ. But for a lot of the other guys, even Chris Hemsworth for a little bit there, was like when the first Avengers hit over $1 billion, that it was like that was one of the benchmarks that when it came time for their next movies, they could re-up their contract for more.
Gotcha. Okay.
They hit $1 billion in the box office.
Yeah. So see, that makes sense. Okay.
That's their bowl game.
Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah. That makes sense for sure. Kind of bringing it back to the current thing. I think the last thing that we can go off of here is or my last thoughts on it would be, I like the choice. And we'll just see again, all of this. I feel like they're making all the right moves. I say they, James Gunn, I feel like he's making all the right moves, but I think I almost feel like I don't want to treat him as Bungie, right? Like DC is Bungie to me. And for those of you who don't know, we played Destiny religiously since its inception. I mean, I think you had the alpha too. I played alpha,
and alpha and beta. Yep.
So like, we've been in a hate relationship with Bungie over the past years or so, just because I've seen what happened with that company, and it's kind of, I don't want to feel that way with DC, but that's how I feel right now. Like, I'm not going to get hurt again. Like, I'm not getting my hopes up because it's just going to disappoint me. But so far, everything looks good.
I don't want to say for anybody who might be watching the channel that might be in one, okay? I'm not trying to make light of this situation, but we are in an abusive relationship with Bungie, and we are the abused, as well as DC, right? We are in that relationship, you know, not trying to make light of anybody who's in that. That's not what we're trying to do, but like, we keep getting beat up, and then we're just like, they can change. I know they'll change, and we go back to them, right? Whereas right now, I think you're right. James Gunn is doing, and let us know down in the comments if you agree. But I think James Gunn's making a lot of the right moves, and I think we got great cast, right? I think like she's going to do great as Supergirl. But it doesn't matter how great the actor or actress is, if the story is shit, and the directing is shit, right? Too. That's the other thing. They might get direction. I need you to be stone faced like Captain Marvel, and then like, what do you do, right? Like, directing, which James Gunn's going to have a hand in that too. So I don't think that's going to be the case. But like, if the story is good and the direction is great, and you've got these actors who've proven themselves, I think we're in we're in an area that we could have great DC movies finally, right? And hopefully a consistent, coherent storyline.
Yeah, and I think it helps the fact that James Gunn is kind of leading all of these projects to start with, right? He's not going to direct everything, but he's writing most of the stuff at the beginning. And I'm sure that they've discussed a Marvel timeline or Marvel-esque timeline like they did with the MCU and planning all of this out, and they're not going to try and wing it like they did with the DCEU. Would be smart, just my opinion. I'm hoping that that's what they did, or that that's what they've done. And I think I agree with you. I think don't hurt me again. Just don't hurt me again. I can't take it. I can't take another one. I can't take another reboot. I can't.
I can't, especially like before I'm like 60. All right, guys. To try to keep these a bit shorter for you, we're going to go ahead and wrap it on up. Please, if you've made it this far, consider liking the video, subscribing to the channel, because we're going to have a lot more Superman content coming up. Because, again, we're not even able to get these out as fast as they're coming up with new things and they're releasing details. And then let us know down in the comments what you think about Millie. Is it Millie?
Millie, yeah, I think Millie.
Yes. Again, I'm bad at pronouncing names. Alcock's there. Like, what you think about her being the new Supergirl? If you love the idea, or maybe you hate it, there's another actress you wanted to see. We're personally excited for it, so let us know. And then, kind of what your thoughts are so far on what the moves that James Gunn's made. Are you excited? Are you not excited? And Mantis, any final thoughts?
I'm good.
All right, guys. Good. Well, until then, we will see you on the next one, guys. Take it easy.
Later.